Hi, John with eTrailer. If you're looking to add a cargo rack or a bike rack to your Tesla, but you want to retain the stock looks when you're not hauling something, then check this out. This is the Stealth Hitch 2-inch receiver hitch, and we've installed it on our 2023 Tesla Model 3. Right off the bat, I do want to tell you that this particular hitch that you're looking at, this is rated only for bike racks and cargo carriers. You cannot tow with this. Now, we do have a separate Stealth hitch available here on our website that will allow you to do both. But this one is just for cargo racks and bike racks and things of that nature. So right off the bat, we'll take a close look at it. It's a 2-inch by 2-inch reinforced collar. Now, this is the industry standard for something like this. It takes a 5/8 inch pin and clip, which is not included, but if you are in the market for cargo racks and bike racks, a lot of those accessories already include this, so just something to keep in mind. This is powder coated, a gloss black finish, and this gets mounted behind the bumper. So really all you're going to see when you're doing anything like this, you're going to only see the receiver tube. To remove it, you just reach up, and it is pretty difficult on this Model 3, seeing how it's so low to the ground. But this is what the other end looks like. This slides up into the receiver tube in the Tesla, and that's it. You're back to the stock finish. Now, on these Model 3s, they do have a cutout all ready for you down here. If you want to reinstall that cover panel, you can. It doesn't matter either way, though. This hitch is going to include a rubber plug. It's lockable. It has 2 sets of keys for security. Now, since the Model 3 is so low, let's reinstall this and we'll get some measurements for you. So from the ground to the top of the inside collar on our car today, we're looking at 9.5 inches. This is pretty low, but like I said, the car sits low. So if you are going to be buying accessories or choosing accessories, you may want to get something that's going to have a rise to it. That way you don't have any clearance issues if you're pulling into like an inclined driveway or something like that. The other measurement we like to get is going to be from the center of the pinhole to the edge of the fascia. And today, it looks like it's about even on the Tesla. Now, the reason for that measurement is if you purchase or have any of those accessories that have like a fold-up stowed position, you want to make sure that it's not going to impact the back of your bumper. And finally, speaking of those accessories, how much weight can you load on this? Well, the answer is 350 pounds. So not the biggest, but that's not chump change either. So this is a good amount if you're going to load up a cargo rack with a lot of accessories, or if you've got like a 2-bike carrier and you're loading up some e-bikes. So it's definitely useful. It's definitely easier than trying to jam a bunch of stuff into the back of your Tesla. As far as installation goes, it does get pretty involved, and everybody's got different skill sets when it comes to working on cars. So if you're fairly new to that, or if you've only done a few things, this might be above what you can possibly do. We do end up removing the tail lights and the rear fascia. This gets installed behind the bumper beam, which is behind this entire wrap back here. So if you want to see how we did it on this, and then you can judge for yourself whether or not you can install it, stick around. We'll show you what we did step by step. Now, to begin our installation, you're going to want to raise the trunk, and there's 2 push pin fasteners on either side up on top that we need to get removed. They'll be located right above the trunk light, and I've got a pick. We're going to pick the center out, and then we can grab the base of it and pull that out. Do this on both sides. Now, on both tail lights, you're going to have a plastic fastener here we need to remove. I've just got an adjustable wrench that I've wrapped in tape so it doesn't scratch the plastic, and we just need to unscrew this. These can be on there pretty tight, so make sure you take your time. So do this on both sides. Now we can take the inner cover here, and we're going to pull it out. Away from the plastic. We need to disconnect the tail lights. Just keep pulling back on this red clip here and it will disconnect. Now it's going to be the same on both sides. Now you also need an 8mm socket to unbolt the tail lights. On the driver's side, they're going to be located right here. And I think on the passenger side, they're in a different location, but you're looking for 2 8mm nuts. When removing your tail light, it's going to come apart at this seam right here, and then this little outer edge here. It's going to have 2 metal pins here and here that need to come out. This side's already going to be loose because it gets bolted. So I have a plastic wedge that may help. These things, sometimes they can get stuck on there pretty good. Also, you'll notice I put some tape down here just in case it comes off a little quick. We don't want to risk scratching the paint up. So I'll try not wedging it first, seeing if it wants to come out. You don't want to just pull out on this side and lever it. You'll end up cracking the plastic here. It needs to come straight back. All right, we got the top loosened up, come down to here. And I'm just pulling back on this wedge here. There. So these are the pins I'm talking about that were giving us all of the trouble here. So do this on both sides and set these off to the side. Grab a 10mm socket and remove the screw that you're going to find on each side. Now, since we had the tape out, I went ahead and taped up the seams because we will be removing the rear fascia here. So you want to grab a T25 Torx socket and a pick. And on the inside of the wheel well liner here, you're going to have 2 push pin fasteners and then 1 T25 screw that's actually facing up like this. So we're going to be attacking it from this angle. So just like the other one, you're going to pull out the center section and then pull out the outer section like that. This is at the outside corner. If you go straight across from there, you're going to feel a second one. Pull that out. And then the Torx screw is holding these 2 panels together. So you'll feel it right here at the top. Now this is going to be the same process over on the passenger side as well. So do this on both sides. Now we can come underneath the Tesla, and with your pick, on the inside of the wheel wells where we were, where the other 2 push pin fasteners were, you're going to have 1 more. It's your choice if you want to grab them from the top, but this is just a little bit easier for me to grab them from down here. So that'll be on either side in that location. Now grab a flathead screwdriver and a 10mm socket. On either side, you're going to have a panel here that we need to pop loose. And then underneath that is going to be a 10mm. We'll have 2 on the outside like this, and then 2 in the middle, and 2 up front. Now once you get to this point and you pull the 2 off that are underneath the car, on some models you're going to have an 1/8 screw that's hidden under here, so you have to pull this panel out of the way to take a look. And it looks like we don't have an 1/8 screw, but you can actually see where it would be right here. So we're good right now. Now this next step, you're going to want to have a person helping you. We got Jake here from eTrailer, and we're going to be pulling the fascia off. And you want to start at the outer edge here, and you want to pull out from the wheel. And when you get up to the top, it'll help. You're going to have 3 clips on this backside. It'll kind of help to lift up and dislodge it. And when we pull this back, we're going to have a electrical connector that we need to disconnect. So we want to do this lightly. You're going to have clips on the bumper as well. So I just run my hand down and I'm pulling out the whole time like that. This is why you need two people in case it wants to come apart. So on this particular model, we do not have an electrical connector. On your model, you might, and if you do, it's going to be on the passenger side. So we can go ahead and set this off in a safe location. Now before we remove this plastic trim piece, in the directions, they'd like us to scribe the spot where this bolts up, just in case, and so that we can install this in the exact position that it was. So I'm just going from the base of the flange and scratching up to the top. This is going to give us the location of this. Now this piece also clips in on either side below the tail lights, so I don't expect it to move too much, but this way now we can grab a 10mm socket and remove the bolts. Now we could just remove this. For right now we're going to let it hang because all we really needed to do was access the bolts to remove the bumper beam. Now take a 15mm socket and we're going to remove the impact beam first. Now some models you're going to have 3 on both sides. Some you might have 3 on one side and 2 on the other. And when we're doing this, you want to save the flange nuts because we're going to use those later on. Set this off to the side, we will reuse it. Now we can come over to this base plate. We'll remove these 3 flange nuts. We're going to keep the flange nuts, but we're going to not reuse the base plate. And you want to do this on both sides. Now in your kit, you're going to get a number of nylon washers. One side note here, if there is caulk or something around the studs here, you need to remove it. We didn't have any, it'll look like this stuff here. So if you have some, remove it first. We'll take one washer and place it, make sure that's just one, over the studs here. We're going to do this on both sides, and then we can raise our hitch into position. Line up the studs with the holes on the hitch. Make sure you didn't trap any wires behind it. And then take 2 of the flange nuts that you saved, and we're going to go and use them on the outsides. Now if you have a stud up here, then do both of these. Just in this instance we only have the one on each side, and that's the ones we're going to use. Oops. And we are going to get these run down here, and we're going to torque them to the specs that are going to be in the installation manual. Now in your kit, you're going to get 2 supporting brackets that we need to install on the bumper beam. The flange here is going to go towards the inside of the vehicle, and the notch is going to be pointing up. Now on our bumper beam, the beam on the top is going to be wider, and at the bottom it'll be narrower. So this is how you need to position these up. In your kit, you're going to get some hardware. You're going to get the bolt, a flat washer. So we'll put that on, and we'll put this on the back side, and then finish it with a nylon washer on top. We've got 3 holes. We're going to do this. And we can just line this up with our bumper beam, and then take the included flange nuts, and we're going to leave these loose, but we're going to run them down, but we'll leave these loose so that we can position them correctly so we can get this on the car. You take the bumper beam and install it. The brackets are going to install on the inner studs here. These don't get any nylon washers, so it's going to go right up. Now we left this loose because we're going to need to center it on the car. Now the beam is still loose, but we're going to go ahead and tighten down the brackets and torque those to the specs. That way we can adjust this left and right and get it centered on the vehicle. Now before we tighten down the bumper beam, you can take a tape measure and we're going to measure from the bottom of the inside beam to the edge of our hitch, and it should be about an inch on either side. It may be a little different on yours, but basically we're just trying to find a center point because we can slide the hitch one way or the other. We need this to be centered on the vehicle. Now that I've got it centered on each side, I can torque the flange nuts. I'm using a 17mm wrench to hold the back of the bolt while we torque this. Same 15mm up front here. Now would be a good time to replace our plastic panel here. So just snap it in on either side. That'll give you a good starting point as to where it needs to line up with. And then try to line up your bolts with the scribe that you've made. Honestly, it doesn't seem like it moves that much, but it does move some. Now we can take our rack receiver. First things first, if you take the plug out of the bottom, this is where your keys are going to be for the side lock, so get those out of the way. We'll just leave the plug out for now. We're going to install this onto the hitch itself. You're going to want the knob on the right side and then the lock portion on the driver's side. You're also going to get bolts with your kit here, the receiver. It's going to slide up in the middle, and we want the bolts to go in from the passenger side over to the driver's side. Slide those in. You're going to have two nylock nuts. Grab a 15/16 wrench and socket, and you can torque these to the specs that you're going to find in your installation manual. Now from this step forward, we're just going to basically be reassembling the car. We're going to put the rear fascia on, reinstall all the fasteners. And that was a look at the installation and some of the features of the Stealth Hitch receiver hitch on our 2023 Tesla Model 3.